for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Monday Night Football overtime. Raiders, Chiefs, good old-fashioned AFC West family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. And boy, was this some good family business or what? Sort of what I expected. I told you guys before, one of my best friends, one of my buddies, is a massive Raiders fan. And I just so happened to be talking to him tonight prior to the game. And he said, we can't fall to 1-4, man. He asked me, what you think is going to happen tonight? I said, man, y'all are going to fight like hell. But y'all are not going to get it done. But this is going to be a great game. He said, man, I ain't trying to hear that shit. We can't fall to 1-4. I said, hey, look, man, I'm already there. I'm telling you, you don't want to be here. He's like, I know. And I don't even want to be in the same breath as Houston, Carolina, and Washington because we're not those teams. I said, you're right. But you'll be joining our ass at 1-4 tonight. Texans are 1-3-1, but they're right in that same 1-4 boat. And I said, look, you had your chances. You should have beat Tennessee. You definitely should have beat Arizona. You shouldn't be here. But you've put yourself in this position, and unfortunately, you've got the unenviable task of having to go to Arrowhead and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I didn't see it happening. They gave it a hell of a run. Before you know it, you looked up, it was 17-0. And they were in total control of this game. They were getting after Mahomes. He was uncomfortable. And then something happened. They stopped blitzing. And I don't know why. They were getting after Mahomes. He was flustered. We've seen this movie before, whether it's been Buffalo in the past or it's been the Chargers. We've seen teams get after Mahomes, pressure him. He starts to panic a bit, takes a sack or two, throws a couple up for grabs, maybe gets picked off once or twice. We've seen that movie, and he looked like he was heading down that road early in his ball game. And then the Raiders, actually, I will say this, the Chiefs, and I have to give them credit, they pivoted. They were struggling to throw the football because the Raiders were pressuring. So they started to run the football with Jerick McKinnon. Shh, don't tell nobody about the secret weapon known as Jerick McKinnon, one of my favorite players in the league. I've always felt like Jerick McKinnon, if he could stay healthy, would be a great asset and weapon to some team. And when he got to Kansas City last year, I said, wow, what a weapon for the Chiefs. Like, this is the exact perfect. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great fit, Jerick McKinnon is the perfect fit. Edwards-Helaire is a great fit. McKinnon is the perfect fit for this Chiefs offense. And I thought they were going to let him get away in free agency this past offseason. They brought him back, and he's their best running back. You know, they've got a nice little backfield with Isaiah Pacheco and McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I think the best guy that fits this offense is Jerick McKinnon, and you saw that tonight. Clyde Edwards-Helaire couldn't run. Conversely, it was the Jerick McKinnon show, and I thought it was his drive when they were down 17-0, where he drug, 4 Raider defenders and guys were stripping at the ball and they weren't going for the tackle. And he ends up coming out of this pile somehow, some way, and ends up picking up like a gain of 40, whatever it was, some crazy amount of yards that shouldn't have happened if they just tackle him instead of trying to strip the football. And that's a hell of a tough run. Nice little push from the offensive lineman, but that's a hell of a tough run by Jerick McKinnon. I thought that sparked them. It was that entire drive was the Jerick McKinnon drive. He had about 4 runs on that drive, probably totaling every bit of 55 yards or so. And then they got into a rhythm after that offensively. And then you could see the Raiders were kind of on their heels after they scored that touchdown, the first of 4 of the night for Travis Kelce, which is just insane. The guy had maybe 8 catches on the night, for like 30 yards, but 4 of them were touchdowns. Are you kidding me? Anyway, so we got to talk. We got to have a discussion about these personal foul, roughing the passer penalties. We saw some egregious calls over the weekend that impacted games. We saw another one tonight that impacted the game. This shit has to stop. Brady got away with one in the Tampa Bay game that was sickening to watch. I'm watching the Washington game, and our shit's coming down to the wire, and I got the Buccaneers and Falcons on the opposite TV, and I got the other 4 games in front of me on the Direct TV Sunday ticket, and so I got my 6-game spread in front of me. But the other game that was actually on the TV was Buccaneers and Falcons, and I'm watching them, reel off 15 unanswered in the fourth quarter, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, they got all the momentum. If they could just somehow manage to get the football back, they'll have a shot. But Buccaneers are shell-shocked right now. And lo and behold, they sack Brady on a 3rd down. They're going to get the football back, and they call this egregious personal foul penalty because he slung him down on the ground. Look, again, when you're trying to sack a quarterback, like the last thing you're thinking is, hey, let me not drop my body weight on this guy. Okay, let me make sure I don't sling him to the ground. No, I'm trying to get this guy down by any means possible. You know why? Because Washington was playing against the Tennessee Titans. And you saw it tonight in the game. But Ryan Tannehill is standing there. You don't want to sling him down. You don't want to body slam him. You don't want to pick up 15 yards. But he's struggling, and he finds a guy, and he flicks it to him. And they get a 1st down on 3rd and 5. Derek Carr did it tonight. You think you got a guy. You don't want to do anything violent. He flicks it to somebody, and they pick up a 1st down. Like, you got to get these quarterbacks down by any means necessary. And I'm not talking about going low or any of that stuff, but you got to look, sometimes you get cut, you get blocked, you crawl to that guy's legs, so be it. Like, I'm trying to get to that QB no matter what, by any means necessary. And so that Chris Jones strip, that was a beautifully executed strip of Derek Carr and sack. You got to be kidding me. There's no way that that's a personal foul. I know you want to protect these quarterbacks. I know you, first of all, when I think of body weight being dropped on a quarterback, I'm thinking of a guy taking a quarterback, scooping him up off the ground, and dumping him into the turf as he goes fully on top of him with all of his body weight. That's what I think of when I hear body weight. That's, I think, what the rule was intended to protect against. And obviously, you have enough quarterbacks like Tony Romo get fallen on and shatter their clavicle. And I'm pretty sure there was a quarterback that got injured in that manner that forced them. It's probably Aaron Rodgers. It's always a superstar quarterback, all right? Except for this Tua situation, which obviously was on national television. Had that Tua situation played out on 1 o'clock on the 4th slot on CBS against the Jets this past week, guess what? No one was talking about it. They wouldn't have enacted a rule, but it was on Sunday. It was on Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. And then there was the controversy from Sunday. And so all of a sudden now, and the hit that put Tua out and had him leave the field on the stretcher was a guy swinging him violently. So in the total NFL, the normal way that they operate, total overreaction, overcorrection of something that isn't actually wrong, they go to the opposite end of the spectrum and say, hey, let's try to curtail this. That's bullshit. It's bad enough that you can barely touch a quarterback as is. The strike zone on these guys is damn near impossible as is. And now you're trying to tell me that a perfectly timed rush by Chris Jones with an excellent swat of the football to get it out and a sack of the quarterback all the while getting the football out and recovering it is a penalty? You got to be kidding me, man. I mean, they got to find a way to find a happy medium. This is bullshit. You know, the Falcons were robbed of an opportunity to try to steal one from the Buccaneers. And I've already said, these teams aren't right in the NFC. The 2 best teams in football reside in the AFC, and we're going to see them play each other next week as this Chiefs win sets up a juggernaut matchup between the 4-1 Chiefs and the 4-1 Bills. That is going to be fantastic. I wish they would flex out the Chargers and Broncos on Monday night and put that game on Monday night. And CBS is like, you better shut your damn mouth. We paid for this one, and we're not letting this one go. I get it. Man, I'm excited actually because Washington plays on Thursday, so I don't have to miss that game. I get to watch it live. That's going to be so much fun. So that's going to be a great matchup, but I thought that the tide turned when Jerick McKinnon got involved in the offense. They scored that touchdown. The Chiefs got hosed right before the half. You're talking about potentially a 10-point swing, definitely a 6-point swing, because the Raiders ultimately got a field goal out of it. Now, the football gods have it as they may. They balanced the scales on that one because they knew that shouldn't have been Raiders football, shouldn't have been a personal foul penalty. They shouldn't have gotten a field goal out of it, but they did. So what the football gods essentially did was they erased that 3 points off the scoreboard by allowing the Chiefs to not only get in the field goal range, but to have their kicker, who I think is awful, in Matthew Wright. I used to make fun of him when he was with Jacksonville. Kick a 59-yard. First of all, there was no way in hell I thought Matthew Wright was going to make this kick. Okay. I watched him struggle to get the ball over the crossbar from like 50, felt like 52, 53 last year in London or whatever it was when he was a member of the Jaguars. There was no way I thought this kid was going to make it from 59 yards. And lo and behold, he made it. And I said, that's nothing but the football gods blessing him. He could barely make an extra point tonight. He tried his hardest and his damnedest to miss 3 extra points. He missed a field goal and tried to miss another field goal, but the Raiders decided, nah, you can have the football back. So there was no way I thought Matthew Wright was going to deposit that. But that was the football gods evening the score there, because the Raiders got 3, so they said the Chiefs have to get the 3 back. So it's 20-10 at the half. Chiefs got the football, and there's nothing more demoralizing than you being up a certain amount of points and then a team double dipping, scoring before the half, scoring after the half, and before you even touch it again, that Raiders lead, after the last time the offense touched the football, the lead was 20-7 after the kick by Daniel Carlson. The next time they touch the football, it's 20-17. So you're like, well, damn, we didn't even do anything wrong. And just like that, we're clinging to a 3-point lead. And you could see the tide turning there, and they just couldn't stop the Chiefs offense. They got it revved up. And again, they blitzed on the final, third down of the game for Kansas City. I don't know why they stopped. They started rushing 3. They got really soft and scared. And I get it. They got a lot of weapons, Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman, and a lot of these guys can run. Sky Moore. There's so many options for Mahomes to get the football to. I get it, but I thought they needed to remain aggressive. Make those guys beat you. Make Mahomes make throws under duress. But they got soft. They got scared. And again, I thought Jerick McKinnon continued to run physically and kept them balanced, something that you can't always say with the Chiefs. They don't always remain balanced, but on a night where the Raiders were running the shit out of the football, they said, well, we've got an antidote for that as well. We can run it too. And so I thought McKinnon kept them somewhat balanced. Mahomes got into a rhythm, and man, is he a wizard. That one throw to Valdez-Scantling over the middle of the football field as he's avoiding a rusher, avoiding another one, jumping, kind of flat foot, jumping in the air, just throws a quick dart. And that guy's ridiculous. The throw to Valdez-Scantling as he's coming across the field on a deep over route. That's another one of those throws. I mean, that defender was in great position. What are you going to do? I mean, those weren't even the best throws of the night. The best throw of the night came from Derek Carr on the deep ball. We'll get to that when we get to the Raiders side of things. But I know what analytics says, and I understand that you're up 7 and you kick the extra point. You're only up 8. It's still a 1-score game. You go for 2. I understand the logic behind that. Going for 2, making it a 9-point lead. Now you can't lose the game with just 1 score, or the game can't be tied with just a score and a 2-point conversion. But I'm more inclined to make the other team convert a 2-point conversion. It's not as easy as it seems. As a Washington fan, I can attest to this. We got 3 cracks at it from the 2, and we're unable to get it in the end zone. So it's not easy to do. The Raiders found that out the hard way a little bit later on in the game. Chiefs didn't get their 2-point conversion either. I just think kicking it. But again, another thing that you have to factor in that, analytics doesn't factor in is that old Matthew Wright back there is struggling to kick it from 33 yards. So How about we just he had one kiss off the upright. He snuck it in twice, and he's already missed 2 kicks in terms of field goals. So I'll just go for 2. What the hell? What do we got to lose? Worst case scenario, we're still up a touchdown. And if they want to go for 2, which they ultimately did, good luck to them. But I would have kicked the extra point. But I get it. I understand the analytics, and I understand what they were trying to do there. That said, I thought that the Chiefs, this is what makes them so dangerous. They were, absolutely silent for a quarter of football. And then they wake up in the second quarter. They score 10 points. They don't punt the football for the next 6 drives, I think. Field goal, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. They scored 4 touchdowns and a field goal. And 2 field goals, I think. It was 1 field goal. Right, because they went for 2. 4 touchdowns and 1 field goal, they went for 2, and that's how they got to 30. So they scored on 5 consecutive possessions. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And they didn't stop them until that final possession of the game that the Chiefs had it when they tried to go for the jugular on 3rd down. And they brought pressure, which is what I thought they should have been doing. I mean, they had the Chiefs in some tough spots. The Chiefs self-destructed on 1 possession where they had like 2 straight penalties, and it's 3rd and like 13, 3rd and 17, 3rd and 15, something like that. And they rushed 3. And Mahomes burns them with a deep ball to Mecole Hardman. Like, what are you doing? Come after him. Make him beat you. So I thought Patrick Graham got a little too conservative. The pressure and the blitz was working in the first quarter. Why'd you stop? Defensively, I feel like the Chiefs, if there's one weakness on the team, it's at corner. I love me some L'Jarius Sneed. Love him, love him, love him, love him. I love their safeties. I love Juan Thornhill. I think the Cook kid out of Cincinnati is going to be really good for them. I love Justin Reed. I think they're fine at the safety position. I think that those corners they may ultimately develop for them. Rashad Fenton is hit or miss for me. First of all, he's not a guy that can run, so guys can get on top of him, and he doesn't always look back for the football. I worry about Rashad Fenton holding up. The young fella, though, the rookie that had to pick against Justin Herbert, and he picked up a pass interference tonight. I think they've got something in him, but he's a rookie, so it's baptism by fire. He got cooked a couple of times tonight, one for a PI and then one for the touchdown. How about Devontae Adams cooking both the corner and safety on the same play when they're supposed to be double teaming him? Load the safety to sleep after beating the rookie corner off the line of scrimmage. Load the rookie safety to sleep and blew by both of them. I think that's where you can hurt the Chiefs. And Steve Spagnuolo, he wants to blitz. He wants to apply pressure. And when you do that, you leave your corners out on an island. And the only one that I really trust right now is L'Jarius Sneed. So that's a little bit of a dicey situation for them against a team like Buffalo, who if you blitz them and you don't get there fast enough, and even if you do, and they throw it up to Gabe Davis, as we saw this past weekend against the Steelers, or they throw it to Stephon Diggs, as we saw against the Tennessee Titans, you pick your poison. Hell, even Khalil Shakir got involved on Sunday against the Steelers. He may be gaining confidence now and adding another weapon to the arsenal that is already lethal in Buffalo. You put yourself in a really tough spot coming after a team like Buffalo with Josh Allen, with these young corners out here and Rashad Fenton, who I think is a liability. So that's the one part of their defense, because I think linebackers, I love their linebackers, and they don't even have Gay, who's suspended right now, but he's a freak at the linebacker position. This Harris kid plays his ass off tonight. And then I love me some of the linebacker from Missouri. I don't know why his name is escaping me right now, but I love him as well. Like, you're loaded at linebacker. I'm not the biggest Frank Clark fan, but Frank Clark showed you his worth tonight, stops the run. He's really good against the run. Don't think he gets enough pressure for as much praise as he gets, but he's a solid edge rusher. And Frank, we already know what, Jones is. I think he's the second best defensive tackle in football behind Aaron Donald. So Chris Jones is a freak of nature. I just think you've got a really good defense. The cornerback position is the one position that I worry about. And we saw a little bit of that tonight. You knew that with Darren Waller out, they really didn't have anybody else. Hunter Renfrow is a third down slot machine, but we know it was only going to be Devontae Adams, maybe a sprinkle of Mac Hollins if you allow it to be. But it's going to be Devontae Adams, and you still couldn't stop him. So that's where I think they have a chance to struggle. But they found a way to get it done, man. And again, this Chiefs team, they're a really fascinating watch because when they get it going, like I've said this, there's no Tyreek Hill, and at times they miss him. But I think it was addition by subtraction because in not re-signing him and giving him all that money, you were then able to go out and add all of these various weapons. Mahomes hasn't had this much to work with since 2019 when he had Tyreek Hill, he had Samuel Watkins, obviously Travis Kelce, Demarcus Robinson, and all of those guys when he was loaded. He hasn't had this many guys to work with since that 2019 season. And so they come at you in so many different ways, man. Like the running backs, were effective, or at least McKinnon was effective tonight. But last week it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the ground against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so they can be effective on the ground. Those guys also catch it out of the backfield very well. Obviously, you got Travis Kelce. He had 4 touchdown grabs tonight. I mean, what are you talking about, man? I mean, how do you not cover this guy? I know the Chiefs are so good down in the red zone. They were 4 of 4 again tonight. They should have been 3 of 4 with the missed field goal, but the Raiders, that's a bad penalty by Malcolm Kuntz. You cannot get a penalty there. Like, just giving up 3 would have been a win. To not only have him miss the field goal, you give up nothing. To give it back to them and allow them to get a touchdown thereafter, that's brutal, man. That's how you lose football games. That's why the Raiders are 1-4. That play, to me, is the microcosm of the season for the Raiders. It takes me back to the Arizona loss. It wasn't good enough that Hunter Renfrow fumbled once and they got it back somehow. He had to go fumble again, and this time allow them to scoop it up and run the other way for a touchdown. It's those little things that, obviously the Kyler Murray scramble around for 85 seconds on the 2-point conversion, like even the touchdown throw as time expired in regulation to allow them to even get the game to overtime. It's ridiculous. He's got all day back there to throw, and he finds AJ Green in the back of the end zone. Like, are you kidding me? Like these things should not happen, but they happen to the Raiders all too often. And that penalty by Malcolm Kuntz was a backbreaker. There in a situation where you're not only going to stop them from scoring a touchdown, which you haven't been able to do for the last 3 possessions in 4 out of 5, but you're going to get the football back because they just missed the field goal. So it's still 24-23. Instead, you take that, you wipe it away, they get the touchdown a couple plays later, and that's a backbreaker. So the Chiefs, I think, have a chance to be right back where they always are. They've been there, 5 years in a row? Let's see, 18, 19, 20, 21. So it's 4 years in a row. They could make it 5 this year in the AFC Championship game. And with the way that their division all of a sudden is shaping up, we thought this was going to be the toughest division in football, and this thing was going to come down to the wire, and iron sharpens iron, which you can see, despite the records, the Chiefs played, the Raiders played them tough. The Chargers played them tough. Now they've got to go both to Vegas and to LA. They had both of those games at home already. So they've got to go on the road and be road warriors later in the season against both of those teams. But they're going to win that division more likely than not if things stay the way that they are. Chargers, I don't trust Brandon Staley. I've already talked about that. He made a boneheaded decision yesterday that should have cost his team a chance of winning the football game. But they're 3-2 and they're hanging in there despite the injuries. But I don't know how much longer that's going to last. And then you've got the Broncos struggling at 2-3, can't score the football. making stupid decisions with the head coach, and Russell Wilson doesn't look like Russell Wilson. Then we later find out he's got an injury to his shoulder, but he's going to play through it. And then you look at this Raiders team, just can't get out of their own way. They're 1-4. So looks like the Chiefs are going to win this division again if things continue down the path that they're currently going. I think the Chargers are going to try to make things interesting. They got Justin Herbert, so they're going to have a chance. But this Chiefs team, man, they're dangerous, and they're only going to get better on offense, I feel, because they're still trying to work out some of the kinks with all of these moving parts, adding Valdez-Scantling, adding Juju Smith-Schuster, adding in Sky Moore, and then, continuing to assimilate those guys, meanwhile continuing to feature guys like Mecole Hardman and Travis Kelce. So I think they're only going to get better. Tonight was another example of that. I thought they started slow, but they revved it up, and then they almost became unstoppable. And that's what this team can do offensively with Mahomes pulling the trigger. From the Raiders' standpoint, you couldn't have started the game any better. You couldn't have scripted it any better. The 4th and 1, play action fake throw to Devontae Adams. It's a thing of beauty. You'd like Carr to lead him a little bit more so he doesn't have to wait for it like a punt. But, it got there. You just don't want to miss the layup. Like Lamar Jackson missed a couple of bunnies last night. And I said last night, just get it up there. Just even if he's got to wait for it, just don't miss the bunny. And so Derek Carr refused to miss the bunny there. He left that thing up there for a while, but Adams was able to corral it and then run away from Rashad Fenton, get into the end zone. And so you're off to a 7-0 start. I thought the defense was playing complementary football. You matched the energy and intensity of the offense. They were running the hell out of the football with Josh Jacobs. He set a career high in rushing yards tonight. He was fantastic. That's 2 weeks in a row that Josh Jacobs was phenomenal and a bell cow for this Raiders offense. Remember, he did not get the 5th-year option pickup this offseason. They talked about it during the telecast. We talked about it in the offseason during the podcast. And I told you I didn't like the disrespect of him having to take snaps in a Hall of Fame game. Like, what are we doing? This is a real NFL, quality NFL running back, right? This isn't some, third string running back you're talking about. That's the equivalent of the Giants sending Saquon Barkley out in the Hall of Fame game. You don't do that to a running back that you expect to be your bell cow and a guy that is respected like Josh Jacobs is around the league. I'm going to tell you right now, Josh Jacobs was running like he had 8 kids to feed tonight and last week. Man's running like he's got 8 mouths to feed. And if he keeps running that way, he'll get the contract that he's looking for and be able to provide like he's got 8 mouths to feed. So this is a dude that ran angry tonight, ran physically, helped them kind of control the tempo and pace of the game in the first half. I think that's a part of the storyline I thought that got them out to that 17-0 start was you could see they were trying to take the air out of the football, keep Mahomes and company on the sideline, shorten the game, limit the amount of possessions that they had. And it was working beautifully early in the game, got them out to the 17-0 lead. And again, for some inexplicable reason, the Raiders stopped blitzing, and it coincided with the ability for the Chiefs to start running the football with Jerick McKinnon. But even when the Chiefs found themselves in some 3rd and long situations, 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 11 and 3rd and 13, when penalties or a couple of incompletions or a run that, didn't net them much yards, because when Clyde Edwards-Helaire touched the football in the run game, he got absolutely nothing. So there were times when they end up in 3rd and 8 and they decided to drop, 8, rush 3, drop 7, rush 4. And Max Crosby was eating early in the game. They said, okay, enough of that shit. They started chipping him. They started double teaming him. The guard, at one play, I saw 3 guys devoted attention to him. Jerick McKinnon was going out into the pass route, got a piece of Max Crosby. Max tried to spin off of the chip. He had already beat the tackle with a spin move earlier when he got to Mahomes on the first possession. And so that tackle was waiting on that spin. So he spun, and as he spun, the tackle slid over, and then the guard came over and smashed him. So 3 dudes got a piece of him on the play. They weren't allowing that shit. Man, Max Crosby is a beast. Man, he is a beast. What did they say his nickname was? The Condor? I think that's what they said. Like the bird. Damn, he's a beast, man. I remember loving that kid coming out of Eastern Michigan. Did not think he was going to turn into what he turned into, though. I thought he could be a good quality NFL pass rusher. I did not think he would turn into one of the better pass rushers in all the football. It's funny because when we talk about the best pass rushers, rarely does Max Crosby's name get mentioned. I liken him, and he's not quite on the same level as a Mike Evans at the receiver position, but I liken him to Mike Evans in that regard. Is when we talk about the best receivers, rarely does Mike Evans' name get brought up with the top 5, right? It's not until you get to closer to 10, you start thinking about Mike Evans, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. But Mike Evans, the numbers, the consistency with all of the different quarterbacks he's had to endure, whether it's Fitzpatrick or it's Jameis Winston or now Tom Brady. And he didn't endure Tom Brady, right? But the numbers, they speak for themselves. The consistency speaks for itself. Same thing with Max Crosby, I feel like. The numbers speak for themselves. He always is up there in quarterback pressures and he plays the run game. He's a big ball of energy. You see it, the backside run, or the backside defender on a run where he stays at home initially, then tracks the running back down from behind. Just love Max Crosby. But anyway, he got off to a fast start in this game. So did Chandler Jones, who still doesn't have a sack to his name this year, but he was getting after Mahomes, and they were having success early in the game. And then that waned, and you could kind of see the wheels turning there. They started to kind of get a little bit passive. Now they see that the Chiefs are starting to get it into gear, and instead of them saying, you know what, let's see if we can't put a little water on this fire, let's see if we can't douse this thing a little bit, they continued to be kind of like passive aggressive and, hey, we're going to sit back and see if Mahomes may make a mistake. Maybe we can get there with 4, and it wasn't happening, and Mahomes started to dissect them. But they got a gift right before half. We talked about the poor call on the personal foul, roughing the passer penalty. That shouldn't have been a Raiders opportunity for a field goal. It should have been Chiefs football. No telling what would have happened. There was roughly around a minute left in the game at the first half, rather, and they would have been right around midfield. No telling what would have happened with that kind of time. I think the Chiefs still had a timeout or 2 at that current juncture. No telling what would have happened, but they end up getting a field goal. It's 20-10 at halftime. And you're saying, while I like the way you played in the first half, you could see the stem starting to tide, the stem of the game and the tide starting to change. When they got that field goal to make it 20-10, from Matthew, where you can see the energy in the building shift. They were booing the hell out of the referees because they didn't like the call. You get the field goal, and you can see that energy was starting to transfer to the Chiefs side of the field. And you just wanted one drive from the Raiders to combat that. And it felt like you never quite got that one drive because they ended up getting a field goal. And you would have liked to have seen them get 7 out of that drive, but you take the field goal, you take whatever you can get. But I want to talk about that Derek Carr throw. First of all, Davante Adams was fantastic tonight. And I don't even think he had that many targets. I think he probably only had 5 or 6 targets. But you got the 2 pass interference penalties that spearheaded one of the drives, the second touchdown drive. You had the touchdown on the first drive. Then you had the touchdown, their final touchdown of the night that made it 30-29, and then they went for 2. And then he was very frustrated on the final snap of the offensive snap of the game for the Raiders because Hunter Renfrow crashes into him, like knocks him down on the ground. Like, what are you doing in the same area as me, dude? And somebody got hemmed up at the line of scrimmage. I don't know if it was Davante Adams or if it was Hunter Renfrow. I just off of Davante Adams's ability to win at the line of scrimmage, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it was Hunter Renfrow that got jacked up and ended up being in the same exact spot as Davante Adams and crashing into him. But I got a axe to grind and a bone to pick with Derek Carr. We'll get to that throw a little bit later on. I want to start with this throw. Wow, what a throw by Derek Carr. And he can do this from time to time. Like, I was on the phone with my buddy when he threw the first touchdown pass because I wasn't watching the game. I was actually out at the store. So he was kind of giving me updates as to what happened. And of course, I started the game over anyway and watched it from the beginning and then just played catch up. And so he's like, man, that was one of the best deep ball throws I've ever seen from Derek. So I'm thinking it's a dime. That was a terrible ball Derek threw on that first one. You want to talk about a dime. You want to talk about one of the best throws I've ever seen from Derek Carr. That's the one. That's the best throw I've ever seen Derek Carr make. He had a big one against the Indianapolis Colts last year on the road that I thought really helped propel them to the playoffs in a game that I thought they had no business winning. That was one of his best throws of his career, and the stakes couldn't be any higher for Derek Carr at that point. So that was a big one. But you're talking about Derek Carr avoiding pressure, stepping up in the pocket. His feet were not set. He threw it off of one foot, flick of the wrist, and Davante Adams is in double coverage, and he drops it right over the shoulder. All Adams didn't extend. Adams didn't move. All he did was this, and the ball fell right here. I mean, his old quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, couldn't have ran up and handed it to him any better. Partner. I mean, what a throw. That was drugstore cotton soft, feathery soft touch. Whoop, like it fell out of the sky. I said, well, goddamn, Derek. But that's the frustrating part about Derek Carr, is you get that throw, right? That throw where you go, only a handful of guys in the league have the balls, one, to even attempt it, and two, have the ability and the accuracy to make the throw off of that platform. But then you get to the end of the game, and this is the shit that really boils my blood with Derek Carr, is that in pressure situations, he has no problem not giving his guys a chance. One of the running jokes between me and my buddy, the one that's a Raiders fan, is that Derek Carr is contact averse. Okay, does not like getting hit. No quarterback does. No one wants to get hit. But Derek Carr especially doesn't like to be hit. And so when he sees pressure and it's imminent, Derek will play hot potato with the football. And I've seen this too many times with Derek. It'll be 4th down and 8. They're going for it. And Derek will run out of the pocket and he'll throw the ball out of bounds. Like, Derek, it's 4th down, dude. You can't throw it out of bounds. What are you doing? You got to give somebody a chance. You got to give someone a chance to either catch the football or get it or draw a penalty. You can't throw the ball out of bounds. There's no next down. There's no 5th down. But when you put pressure on Derek Carr, he loses his mind. You know, we've also got a running joke about Derek Carr and the inside arm trying to stretch the football. He's fumbled like 3 times trying to score right by the pylon, gets knocked out of his hand and goes out of the end zone, and it's a touchback. And you're like, dude, how many times are you going to do this shit before you realize I probably shouldn't do that? That last throw of the game, there's pressure. And if that ball's remotely close to those receivers, maybe the officials think about, and it wasn't a penalty because literally the 2 teammates crashed into each other. But if that ball's a little bit close, if that ball is anywhere near them, maybe there's a discussion. That ball was 15 yards over the nearest, even if they don't crash into each other, Davante Adams isn't even close to that football. What are you doing? Where are you throwing that ball? Like, come on, you got to give him a chance on that play. I know there's pressure. I know a guy is screaming down the pipeline at you, and he's going to hit you right in your chops. You cannot just airmail the thing and think you're going to get bailed out. You got to put it in the neighborhood. That thing was in a totally different county. And that's Derek Carr. One throw where you're like, oh my God, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And then another throw where you're going, you didn't even give your guy a chance. That's 4th down. That's the ball game. You didn't even give him a chance. All in all, great game. Raiders are 1-4. That's rough because they've played to probably about 3-2. You know, worst case scenario, 3-2, because they could have easily have won this game. They were up 17. Easily could have beaten the Arizona Cardinals. They were up big in that game, 23-7 or something like that at one point, I believe. had no business losing that game. So they put themselves in a tough spot. You're 1-4. It's going to be hard to dig. Especially, it'd be one thing if you were in the NFC. I'd say, hey, you're more than alive in the NFC at 1-4. The AFC, not so much. Not so much. There's a lot more competition out there. But then again, I mean, this league, I've said this year, the NFL is drunk. So, hell, maybe even in the AFC, I'm thinking about it. I think New England's 3-2. I think the Patriots are 3-2. They won this week. They won they lost to the Dolphins in week 1. They beat the Steelers in week 2. They lost to the Packers in week 4. Week 3, what did they do? They beat somebody in week 3. I can't remember who they played in week 3, but I'm pretty sure they won that game. No, they lost to the Ravens. So they're 2-3. They're 2-3. But you got the Dolphins still at 3-2, and we don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback situation because Tua's out. Still don't think he's going to be back. Bridgewater looks like he's going to be out. They could be in some trouble. But they're 3-2. Obviously, the Bills are probably the cream of the crop in the AFC. AFC South is a mess. With Jacksonville losing to Houston, the Titans, who started 0-2, are now at the top of that division all by their lonesome at 3-2. Somebody's got to win that division. That division is horrible, but somebody's going to win it. You got the AFC North. I think it's going to come down to the Ravens and the Bengals, but right now the Bengals sit at 2-3. So I mean, if you're the Raiders, you're like, yeah, we didn't get off to the greatest start in the world, but I recant my last statement because that conference is just as wacky as the NFC is in terms of records. Shit, you could argue the NFC, just the NFC East alone, powers the NFC and allows it to be a better conference overall than the AFC because you've got 3 teams, 5-0, 4-1, 4-1. Then you've got the Vikings at 4-1. You got the Packers at 3-2. You got the Bucks at 3-2. And you've got I think the 49ers are 3-2, if I'm not mistaken. So, NFC is actually better than the AFC. The misconception is AFC's better. They got all the quarterbacks. They're the powerhouse conference, but Broncos are struggling with Russell Wilson. Chargers are struggling a bit, even though they're 3-2. They're struggling a bit with Justin Herbert. You got Mahomes. You got Allen. But there's no Watson yet, even though he'll be back at some point. But the Browns aren't going to be good by the time he gets back. And you got Jackson and you got Burrow. But Burrow started 0-2, and then they lost last night. And so they're 2-3. And Jackson and company should probably be 5-0 right now, but they're 3-2. So going to be really interesting. The Raiders aren't dead. I'll just say that. They got a bye week. And you heard what they said. The soft part of their schedule is coming after this bye week. You hope to get some healthy bodies back. Hope that the Darren Waller injury tonight isn't serious. Anytime I hear a hamstring with an athlete like Waller, I'm always thinking about roughly 3 to 4 weeks. So I think he's going to miss a little bit of time. And that sucks because he takes your offense to a different level if he's healthy. You really haven't had a full complement of these guys all season. It's kind of been like they're tagging each other in and out. Adams has been the constant, but Hunter Renfrow missed a game or two. Waller, he's had some issues. I think he came into the season a little banged up, hasn't been right. Then you get the hamstring. And so you haven't really had your full complement. I don't think they're actually comfortable as an offense quite yet because everyone hasn't been there. But I think I heard like Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, like these are the teams coming up for the Raiders. There's one more team in there that I'm missing, but they're not very good either. So I can see them turning their season around, but they've got to be more consistent on offense. They've been really frustrating on offense. Defensively, they've been frustrating there as well. But I think they just need to figure out what their identity is on defense. Are you going to blitz? Are you going to be a coverage team? What are you going to do? Tonight they had success blitzing, and then they decided to stop, and I thought that hurt them. But anyway, I digress. Enough of me talking. I talked a long time tonight. Normally, I don't talk for as long, but and one more thing. I wasn't in love with the idea of going for two there. Again, I understand the concept and why McDaniels decided to go for two. He didn't trust his defense. They hadn't gotten a stop in 5 straight possessions. So I get it from that standpoint. But you also have to keep in mind, your defense actually did get a stop. And the kicker did miss the field goal. It's just Malcolm Kuntz decided to try to pull one over on the officials, and he got caught. And so I don't feel like there was enough time in the game. If it was 128 left in the game, going for two there, I agree with it. They scored that touchdown with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. The Chiefs could get the ball twice in that span. You know, they could go 3 and out, punt it to you, get the ball back, and have a chance again to kick a field goal and walk it off. Like, you go for two, to me, in a situation where if I get this 2-point conversion, either I'm winning the game or I got to get one defensive stop to preserve the victory. Sort of like the Giants did to the Titans. They went for two at the very end of the game. They got it, and they won the football game. Titans didn't have any time left. That's the situation where I'm going for two, when you're going to roll the dice. It's a lot of time left, man. I think you put the game, you tie the game up. I'm going to get it at least, if you're the Raiders, I'm going to get it at least one more time. Bare minimum. I'm going to touch this thing one more time. So I don't have a chance. Now, don't know if the defense is going to stop them from scoring a touchdown or a field goal, but if it's a field goal, I want to have a chance to counter with my own field goal. I just think tying it up there is the move, not going for two with that much time left. But, you know, it's easy to second guess because it didn't work. If it would have worked and they would have won this game 31-30, we're not having this discussion. What a ballsy move by, you know, Josh McDaniels. But I didn't love that decision. But, you know, it is what it is. Let's get to the comment section. Storm, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Storm, writes, I was expecting a blowout L, so a close game is nice, but man, brutal way to lose. Fire the mock drafts. Raiders season is over. Shaking my damn head. I think I just explained to you that it's not over, actually. You know, I think it's easy to overreact as a fan when you're 1-4. And in a normal season, 1-4 is a death sentence. This is not a normal NFL season. Is I've already laid out for you. This NFL season is drunk. Okay. There's still so many teams at 1-4. Obviously, Washington, Raiders, Texans are 1-3-1. The Lions are 1-4. The Panthers just fired Matt Rule. They're 1-4. So trust me, you're not alone. And as crazy as this may sound, none of those teams are out of it, technically speaking. Why? Because there are more teams at 2-3 than there probably are at 3-2 or 4-1 and 5-0. I'd venture to say that the vast majority of the league is sitting there at 2-3. Probably about 11 to 12 teams are sitting at 2-3. So if you're 1-4, theoretically you're a game behind all of those teams that are 2-3. You win one, they lose one, and you're both 2-4. And just like that, you could pass a lot of these teams. So your season's not done. You don't have to start looking at mock drafts. Like the Jets are 3-2. Are they going to keep that up? I don't know. I think the Jets are going to be better this year. They got a ton of talent. But they're still the Jets, man. Until they prove that they're not the Jets, they're still the Jets. So your season's not done. But me being a Washington fan and having an equally as debilitating loss, probably ours was worse than yours because we literally were knocking at the doorstep with the football, which is how you would prefer to have it. It's frustrating when you lose a game that you felt like you should have won. You were up 17, though. You know, so that hits a little different. But yeah, after a tough loss, an excruciating loss that drops you to 1-4, you're thinking it's over. But the difference between your Raiders and my Washington Commanders is that your quarterback is more consistent than ours, and you have Devontae Adams, and you got Max Crosby. You got some dogs. You got some guys that can make some plays for you, that can help you turn this thing around. That doesn't necessarily reside in Washington. So we'll see. I'm not counting you out. I'll just say that. I don't think firing up the mock drafts is necessary yet. Let's see what you do coming out of the bye. I think that'll be interesting. You win 3 out of 4 after the bye week. You win 3 in a row, and next thing you know, you look up, you're 4-4. So we'll see. It's a tough way to lose a football game, though. I get it. Been there, done that. Storm, thank you for the super chat once again. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Storm, who writes, I ain't even mad at the 2-point conversion. It indirectly helped get us the ball back. Mac Z knew that Andy wasn't going to go for it if we got the stop. It did indirectly get you the ball back, because I think if the Chiefs needed a field goal to win the game, if it's tied at 30 and they needed a field goal, they play it totally different than they did. You play it a little bit differently than you would if you got the lead. You're not as desperate. You want to, keep getting first downs. You want to be able to end the game in victory formation, but there's a different sense of desperation when you're tied or behind than it is when you're ahead, and you're a little bit more cautious in some of the decisions you make, which is what Brandon Staley doesn't seem to understand in LA with the Chargers. But that probably did get you the football back, going for 2. But that's not what they were thinking. Hey, we're going to get the football back regardless. I think he was going for the win. Like, if we get this 2-point conversion and then we somehow get a stop, which they ultimately did. But again, had you gotten it, the 2-point conversion, they're not going to punt after that 3rd down incompletion. They're going to go for it on 4th down. So who knows what would have happened. I would have just tied the game up. But again, it's easy to second guess now in hindsight. I like to go for 2 with a lot less time. That's just my thought process. Storm, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Storm writes, losing like 4 one-score games is brutal. I'm sick right now. Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. My buddy was like, I don't deserve to be in the same breath as you or the Texans or the Panthers. Like, we're not that team. We're not Detroit. I'm like, you're right. But you haven't found a way to win. You know the margin of error in this league is razor thin. When it's winning time, you got to find ways to make plays, and you haven't. That Arizona Cardinals game is a great example. You had ample opportunities to put the Cardinals away. Get a stop on a 2-point conversion. Get a stop at the very end of the game. Both times you let, Kyler Murray make a play. Find a way. Hunter Renfrow in overtime. All you need is a field goal. Don't fumble the football. He fumbled it twice. So, yeah. I mean, how many interceptions did Derek Carr throw in week 1 against the Chargers? You lose that game by 5 points, 24-19. How many interceptions did he throw? 3, 4, something like that? I think it was 3. Like, that's the margin of error in this league. Is you cannot beat yourself. And you guys have done that too many times this season. That Malcolm Kuntz penalty, backbreaker. You lose the game by 1 point. They were getting nothing on that possession. 0. Zilch. Yeah, it's rough. Dominic Randolph, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Dominic writes, as a Raiders fan, I'm crushed. You were totally right when you said we should have made that trade on the video the other day. I know how you felt yesterday. I don't trust this comment. I don't know you, and I feel like that's luck. But you want me to say what did I say on the other video? What trade? Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'll just tell you that that's tough. Being a Raiders fan right now is no different than being a Washington fan. But there's more light at the end of your tunnel than it is for any other. You don't really belong in that 1-4 conversation if you're a Raiders fan. I do not think Dominic Randolph is a Raiders fan. And if you really are, I apologize. But right now I'm on high alert. I don't trust this comment. This feels like luck. So because I don't recall making a statement on a video the other day. So you're gonna have to do that again. But what I will say is, of all the 1-4 teams, the Raiders are the most likely to turn their season around. And I don't know if there's any silver lining in that comment. I don't know if you take solace in that. If you're a Raiders fan, you probably don't even want to hear that shit. But that's the honest to God truth. Of all the 1-4 teams, if this were an SAT question, if this were a test question, which one of these teams does not belong? And I give you a list of 5 teams, choice A, B, C, D, or E. And it's Washington, it's Commanders, it's Lions, it's Texans, it's Panthers, it's Raiders. The answer is E, Raiders. They don't belong in that conversation. So we'll see. All right. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, what are we doing with these roughing the passer calls? Can we tackle the quarterback anymore? Brady tried to kick Grady, even on the one on Josh now tonight. The sport is violent. That's why girls don't play the game. Shaking my head. Well, I'll stay away from the girls not playing the game part. I'll stay away from that. Because there's some tough ass females out there that feel like they could play. But I'll just say this. This is a violent sport. These guys know what they're signing up for. You can try to make this game as safe as you want. And they've taken steps to try to, take the head out of the game. They've tried to clean up the kickoffs and things of that nature and double team blocks and wedges, breaking that stuff up. They've tried to limit the amount of concussions that occur on kickoffs because a lot of them occurred on kickoffs. And they've tried to legislate the head out of the game and with these personal foul penalties and fining these guys. And all of that is great. We all, fans of this game, we all welcome changes that are for the betterment and the safety of players that play this game that we love so much. But at the same time, this is a physically demanding, violent, and the violence is part of what we love about it. The same thing with MMA. Why do you think people love MMA? It's the sheer violence of MMA, the brutality of it. People love seeing someone get the hell beat out of them, or one punch knock somebody out cold, or one kick to the jaw lands squarely and a guy's body goes jelly, right? Football is supposed to be physical. It's not supposed to be soft. We're not supposed to be placing guys on the ground. That's not how this game is supposed to be played. Football is a physical game. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. And while quarterbacks are already protected, more so than any other position, you can't enforce rules even more to protect them than they already are. It's ridiculous. It's a farce. Like Joe Burrow came out and said, and I thought this was so true. NFL doesn't want to hear this. This goes against everything that they've been preaching in the narrative, and because they want the young kids and the youth of America to still want to play football. I can tell you this. I got two little boys. I'm steering them away from football. I mean, if they want to play football, I'm not going to stop them. And I'm going to help them be the best football player they can be, but I'm going to try baseball and basketball first before we even think about trying football. We know the dangers of playing football. You know the risks, you know the rules. All right, you know the parameters, you know what you're dealing with. These guys know what they're signing up for. Joe Burrow said, look, as a quarterback, you're going to get hit. You're going to be wobbly. You're going to be a little woozy. All right, you're going to get your bell rung. You're going to play with a little bit of a hazy memory. It's a part of the game. And so I hate it, man. I hate, because it's one thing if a guy commits an act that is uncommon to the game. You're leading with their helmet, spearing somebody, you're putting your helmet up under somebody's chin. There's no place in the game for that. You don't want to see a guy get decapitated behind some nonsense like that. But I don't think a guy should be a defenseless, I don't think you should be called a defenseless receiver if a guy gets hit in the sternum, in the solar plex. And because he doesn't catch the football and it looks violent, you're going to call a flag. That's the price you pay for coming over the middle of the football field. Has to be some kind of price or everybody's going to do it. And with the quarterback position, you got to be able to hit these guys. Look, these guys are so crafty. They're so good at what they do. And there's already so many rules to protect them that guys are already kind of trying not. I remember Chase Young last year against the Atlanta Falcons. He picked up a dumb personal foul penalty in his rookie season, going after Matthew Stafford late in the ball game. And it led to the game-winning field goal. And so the next year, he's got an opportunity to hit Matt Ryan on a 4th down. He's so scared to death of picking up another personal foul penalty that he pushes Matt Ryan instead of tackling him, instead of hitting him. He pushes him. Well, Matt Ryan stumbles, but he doesn't fall, and he ultimately gets rid of the football. It's 4th down. It's incomplete. But in pushing him, he actually hits him up towards the neck area. Doesn't actually strike him in his neck or his head, but it's close. They throw a flag. He still gets flagged for personal foul anyway. Despite trying not to hit him because he didn't want a penalty, he tried to push him down. He still gets a penalty anyway. You can't win. You're definitely going to lose. And at some point, these quarterbacks, they're already protected enough. Can't hit them in their knees. Can't hit them above the head. Can't drop on them with body weight. Well, what the hell can you do to these quarterbacks? Can't hit them in the head. You come by with a glancing blow. You're just trying to get your hand up to bat the ball down, and your hand just happens to come down. And if it hits the quarterback in the head, more likely than not, you're going to get a penalty. I mean, it's crazy. And I love listening to Troy Aikman when he does these games, because in his day, it was the wild, wild west. It wasn't, I shouldn't say that, because it was way worse in the 70s. Guys were getting clotheslined, suplexed, all that good stuff. So, obviously, when Troy and Steve Young and all those guys had to retire early from concussions, it was a different game. And when Troy sees these guys, getting flagged for these little cupcake hits, I just listen to Troy, and Troy just laughs, and he's like, man, I wish I played when, with these kind of rules. I'd have played till I was 60. That's how Brady's able to play till he's 45, and Brady's had his fair share of hits and concussions and things of that nature. Trust me. Brady hasn't been unscathed in all of this. Brady missed an entire year with the torn ACL. Brady's taking his fair share of lumps back there. But the way that they protect these quarterbacks, it's helped the longevity of the position overall. Guys like Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger, all these guys are able to play a lot longer because the rules are slanted in favor of these quarterbacks. They got to stop this shit, man. The NFL always overreacts and overcorrects something when something happens. And this Tua situation's got them spooked. It's not a good look for them. And so they're trying to overcorrect it, and they got to stop this shit. They got to nip it in the bud. They got to have a meeting with these officials and say, hey, look. And the NFL told them to do this. They didn't go rogue and start calling bullshit ass penalties. The NFL told them, hey, we want you specifically looking for this shit. We want to curtail this. Start calling this stuff. You're affecting games with this shit. They got to cut it out. Yin Yang Experience. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, does Carr do better than Wentz? Your opinion? They're both maddening in their own separate ways. Like Derek Carr to me is a much better athlete than he gives the appearance off to be. Like, dude, you can like. There was a play tonight, and this is what we talk about when I joke with my friend that Derek Carr is contact averse. Derek Carr is running. It's third down, and let's call it 6. And Derek Carr is running, and he's got a teammate, let's say, parallel to him, perpendicular to him, right? Right about 4 yards to his left. That running back that he ended up throwing to, Brandon Bolden, has a defender off to his left by about 1.5 yards. And Derek has nobody in front of him. So if Derek decides to just tuck it and run, he'll easily get the first down, slide before there could be any inkling of contact, any threat of violence. He could slide, get the first down comfortably, and move on to a fresh set of downs. Instead, he sees a teammate and he's like, well, I don't want this shit. Throws it to him, and he ends up getting stopped 1 yard short of the first down. He just could have ran and got the first down. That's a frustrating play. There's pressure on Derek. He's the threat of violence. Derek shovels that bitch sideways. I don't want it. Doesn't get it back to the line of scrimmage. He could have thrown that thing out of bounds, gotten it to the line of scrimmage. He was out of the pocket, and he probably would have saved them. Look, it was already like 2nd and, 15 already, or 20 or whatever it was. That made it 3rd and 27, but still, it's frustrating. It's unnecessary, And then you get some interceptions where he forces the ball, and you get some throws like the one at the end of the game where he doesn't give you a chance. They're kind of similar. I think Carr's better than Wentz because he's more consistent than Carson Wentz. But they're very similar. I think Carr's better than Wentz, though. Let's see. We got any more supers? We do. Storm, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Storm. Right, go back, watch the field goal holding. Refs screwed it up. So John Perry explained it as a pull and shoot. That's what he called it. Now, that may not be what Malcolm Kuntz was intending to do, because I didn't see a guy shoot through the gap that he was providing with the hold. But he literally bear hugged the dude, wrapped his arms around him. Now, I don't know what he was trying to do. And the guy that was next to him, he didn't get through there free or whatever. But what was he doing? I don't really know. Like, as a defender, you have no business grabbing a guy. Your arm should not be around a blocker, because you're trying to get to the ball, not hold. Okay. So that action, again, when I talk about acts uncommon as a guy trying to block a kick, that is an act uncommon to trying to block a kick. I thought that the call was accurate, but maybe I need to see a closer look or a different angle. But from the angle they showed us, which was the end zone angle, He's got the guy like this. Like, what are you doing, dude? Let's see. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy Luck. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, I must say, I'm proud of you, Lou. And look, Luck, I told you, you got me yesterday when I was at a very low point. I was so disappointed in you. I was so disappointed in you getting me the way that you got me yesterday, because any other day, and that was a soul-crushing loss. It was a debilitating loss. And it was at the very end of the stream, and I had been going for 4 hours. At that point, I was delirious, frustrated with the loss, hungry, tired, everything. It was a confluence of things. But I said, you know, one thing I can count on is Luck's not going to try to take advantage of me in this mental state that I'm in. Boy, was I wrong. But I told you, I'm on it now, man. You won't get me. You're going to have to do something special to get me. And you're not going to do it with some random person I've never seen before. You're going to have to do it with the usuals, with the Condo P's and the Derek B's of the world. It's going to have to be somebody like that. When you morphed into my guy JL Smooth one time, it's going to be something like that. If you get me again, it's going to be something like that. But I'm on it now. So even that's going to be questionable. I'm not letting my guard down. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm on it. I'm snuffing it out. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, ha, got me. Of course, I told you, man. I'm on it, bro. I'm on it, man. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Joe Rockhead J writes, what's up, bro? Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. He writes, what's up, bro? It's good with you, Joe Rockhead J. Says, feeling good, Louie. 2 questions. Could Wentz get those passes to Kelsey? Could McLaurin make those catches from Mahomes? Sure, Wentz could get those passes to Kelsey. I don't think he would. He's capable. From an athletic standpoint, from an arm talent standpoint, he's capable. From a mental capacity, escaping, like, I think young Philadelphia Eagles Carson Wentz could do some of the things that Patrick Mahomes does. Because before the injuries, Wentz was elusive. He was dynamic. He was more athletic. Now, he's less athletic. He's less willing to run. He's a little more shell-shocked. The wear and tear of, getting beat up and making mistakes has worn on him physically and mentally. He's not the same guy. And so a lot of those, like Mahomes and Carr, I thought did a good job of manipulating the pocket, stepping up, avoiding rushers at times, like that touchdown pass, that thing of beauty that Derek Carr threw to Devontae Adams to cut the deficit to 1 at 30-29. Again, there aren't many in the league making that play, man. Like Wentz isn't making that throw. Hell no. McLaurin, could he catch? Yeah, he could catch passes from Mahomes. Absolutely. For sure. No doubt about it. John Livingston, my guy, JL Smooth, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, JL Smooth, writes, Lou, didn't mean any disrespect to females, was quoting Shane Falco. Oh, you went The Replacements on me. I like that movie. I don't love it to the point where I would know a quotable from it. So that one went right over my head. Phew. He says, check out the pic from SI from 91 with the Bills. LOL. How times have changed. I'm for player safety, but I mean, this is ridiculous. I agree with you. It is utterly ridiculous. And at some point, and this is the line that the NFL has to understand that they're approaching. They're not there yet, but they're approaching this line. At some point, it starts to not look like football. It becomes no longer football. when you start trying to police the physicality out of the game, it then stops becoming being football, and it becomes something else. We're here for the physicality. We're here for the violence. Okay? We're here for the big hits. Yep, we like touchdowns. We like offense. We're here for the physicality, though. That's a part of the game that has hooked us in. So don't try to legislate all the physicality out of the game, because that's part of why we love football. One of the reasons most Americans can't get with soccer is it's too much pussyfooting around. Guys diving theatrics, falling on the ground, acting like they just been shot, all in search of a red card. You know, the NBA is starting to try to police the flopping because these NBA players are turning in these Oscar performances. They look like they just been hit with a switchblade. Every time LeBron gets hit, he's searching for blood. Bro, nobody even touched you. You're not bleeding. You're fine. You know, you see some of these guys taking charges. You would have thought they just got hit by a Mack truck. There's the lack of physicality in the NBA. It's not supposed to be physical. You know, it's not a physical game anymore. Not like it was in the 80s, in the 90s. That's why you see the scores the way that they are now. 141 to 133. And at one point in the 80s, there was, with Showtime and all that stuff, yeah, they were scoring some points. They were running and gunning. But you also might get your ass clothesline, you know, on a fast break. Dudes was throwing hands and getting technical fouls. They weren't getting thrown out of games. They got to be careful. I'll say that. They have to be careful. I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but I'm going to reel myself back in. They got to be careful. Boxing used to be one of the biggest sports in the United States. Boxing is an afterthought in the United States now, because no one boxes anymore. That used to be, if you were an athlete, you went and you boxed. You didn't go play football. You didn't go play basketball. You went and became a boxer. You were a tremendous athlete and you were big. Now, if you can avoid being a boxer, you do that. You go play any other sport but boxing. No one wants to get hit repeatedly in the head, in the face. So, but what also has stolen what has stolen some of the thunder from boxing is MMA. The growth and the emergence of MMA as a sport, because that's way more savage. That's way more violent than boxing, which is why people loved boxing, for its violent nature. One punch could end it all. You see wars that go 12 rounds. It used to be 15. It's no longer the case in boxing. Good fighters don't even fight other good fighters anymore. It's so much politics. It's eroded the sport. People much rather go watch MMA. Someone's bound to get knocked out. Someone's bound to catch this kick to the side of their chin and drop them like a sack of rocks. Someone's about to catch this backhand elbow. Bow! Drop a dude. Because of that physicality, that violence, people are drawn to it. That's what drew us to football. Don't try to take that away or you'll lose fans. I get that you want the game to be safer. But these players, trust me, they know what they're signing up for. Let them play football. Tua Tugga something. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes West Side. Okay. All right. Damn. I just blocked my guy JL Smooth, or either Luck acting as JL Smooth for 5 minutes. My fault. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Anyway, sheesh. I'll go back and read that comment. I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, I digress. I'll wait for that comment to come back because that was a super chat. And it says he's in timeout for 5 minutes. I didn't mean to do that. Hey, JL Smooth, if you're watching this on playback, that's my fault. You didn't do anything wrong. I just hit it twice. Anyway, I got another super chat here. It's from Joe Rockhead J. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I asked those questions because quarterbacks, Ron. Well, Ronald made a statement today. You know, I did my whole, essentially took up the entire CNN today. And it really frustrated me watching that. And somebody tried to defend Ron. I want to read his entire comment because he wrote a War and Peace novel, which is fine because, you know, from time to time that's required to get your point across. And so I want to read what he said and see because he tried to essentially interpret what Ron was trying to convey. I think Ron said what he said. I heard what he said loud and clear. I don't agree because, again, I feel like Ron is not taking personal responsibility for his role in the 1-4 start. I don't think he's forcing his coaching staff to take personal responsibility for their roles in the 1-4 start. I think he keeps trying to put it on players and injuries and guys not, you know, adhering to what they're being coached to do. Look, some of it is on the players. I've stressed this. It's not all on the coaching staff. At some point, the players have to go out on the field and make some plays. Guys have to step up. Someone's got to be an alpha and say, I'm going to be the reason that we win today. We haven't had any of those performances since week 1. So in week 1, it was Derek Forrest who stood up and said, we're not losing today. How many plays did he make in that game? How many knockaways did he have? He forced a fumble, and then he had to pick to seal the deal. Like, somebody's got to stand up and say, I'm going to be an alpha today. We don't have that. So, yeah, somewhat frustrating for sure. And I don't know if he was necessarily trying to blame Carson Wentz as much as he was trying to make it out to be that, you know, other teams have quarterbacks, but I just struggle with that because the Giants are the outlier. They're more like us. And for them to be in the position that they were in this offseason and to be in the position that they're in right now, there's no defending that. There's no reason the Giants should be that much better than us. But they are. And you can't explain that one away. Because what that says to everyone is that it's a coaching issue. They got less talent. They got Daniel Jones at quarterback. They have a roster offensively that probably only rivals the Bears in terms of ineptitude. Take away Saquon Barkley, and they've got absolutely nothing on offense. And somehow they're 4-1. That's coaching. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's coaching. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wing 01 writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, rather. So if we lose to Chicago, that's low even for us. Well, look, the Bears have a better record than us. They're 2-3. Look, I felt the same way I felt against Tennessee. We were supposed to beat the Titans. We didn't. The Bears aren't a good football team, but I think they may be a better coach team than us. So would it shock me if they beat us? No. Justin Fields right now stinks. He's got nobody to throw the football to outside of Darnell Mooney, which scares me because it doesn't take much to pull the okey doke on our corners and get behind our defense and make a big play. It doesn't take much. We give up at least one every single game. So Darnell Mooney made a ridiculous one-hand grab against Minnesota last week, or yesterday, rather. 2 days ago now. Made a ridiculous one-hand grab. I can see him making a 55-yard catch against us, setting up a scoring opportunity for the Bears, because we give one of those up, seems like, every week. I could see them sacking Wentz and the ball coming out, and them scooping that up, either running it for a touchdown or putting them in a position to score, and they take advantage of that. I can see Justin Fields' legs becoming a huge part of this game and really altering the outcome of this game. I can see a number of different ways that we could find a way to lose to Chicago. So I wouldn't consider that a new low. Losing to Houston, to me, would be a new low. They stink. They suck. They can't score. They got a ragtag group of players. It's a young roster. It's a hodgepodge roster. Is what it is. They're not the worst roster in football, but they're the most. I think they're the most hodgepodge. I'll just leave it at that. They're the most hodgepodge roster in the NFL, meaning just a bunch of mixed matched parts. Like OJ Howard at one point may still be their leading touchdown receiver. He got there like 3 days before the season started. Like, that's the kind of roster that they have. Like, nothing fits together. Nothing goes together. Rookie running back, second-year quarterback, like 9th-year receiver, 10th-year receiver. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the kind of roster they've got. It's just weird. Nothing makes a ton of sense. So, yeah. That would be the one for me. Not the Bears. I could see us losing that game. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Oh, I did skip a Luck comment. Sorry. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luck writes, life is physical when you're a Washington fan. Indeed it is. It's physical from the standpoint of I don't know if physical. It can be, I guess. I think life as a Washington fan is a mental exercise. You definitely have to do mental gymnastics to be a Washington fan and remain in shape mentally to withstand what's coming down the pipeline for the next 3 to 4 months. You've got to be in good mental health, right? Because they're going to push you to your limits. That one yesterday or Sunday, that one stung, man. That one hit the, that one, whew, that one was rough. Like, I can't, again, I've endured a lot of losses as a fan. So, like, they happen, and they come in, like I said yesterday or Sunday, losses come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. We've seen them all. We've experienced them all. Playoffs, regular season, big leads blown, comeback attempts thwarted, get to the goal line, can't get in. We've seen it all, Remember, Portis comes out of the game. Lydell Betts is in against the Giants back in 2007. Giants are 0-2. They've given up 80 points in the first 2 weeks. We're up, 14-3 at halftime. We're dominating. We got the white tops, yellow bottoms with the striped socks, with the R on the helmet. Yeah, we're feeling good about ourselves. And the Giants scored 14 points in the second half. They're up. They had to be up more than 17-14 because we would have kicked the field goal. It had to be like 20-14. They were up 20-14. And Portis is out of the game for some reason. Betts gets the handoff and gets stopped at the 1 yard line, and we lose the game. Like we've seen it, we've done it. We got jerked by the Buccaneers several times. All start over the top. Did he get in? Hell no, he didn't get in. They say he got in. He didn't get in. Touchdown. We lose the game. Like we've done this a million times. Right? That one yesterday, though, it hurt. You filed that away in the damn that shit hurt category. That one stung. And again, if you're not mentally tough enough, those take a toll. Those take a toll. Sorry about that, Luck. Is my guy back yet? John Livingston? Is he back yet? I don't see him. I feel bad. Yes, he's back. I see a comment from him. Okay, I'm going to read that one soon. I got to get this one from Red Wings first. Red Wings 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Red Wings 01 writes, I guarantee LaFleur, McVay, or McDermott get the TD. I can't guarantee that anybody gets a touchdown, but they would have been a lot more creative in how they would have gone about it. That's for damn sure. I can guarantee you this. LaFleur with Devontae Adams is going to make sure that one of those, throws is going to go to Devontae Adams, if not two or three of them, all three of them are going to go to Devontae Adams, isolated one-on-one. Whether it's a back shoulder fade, it's a comeback at the pylon, something like that, a slant. He's going to make sure Devontae Adams gets one-on-one and gets an opportunity. I can say the same thing about McVay with Cooper Kupp. Oh, you best believe if the Rams get down to the 2 yard line with 19 seconds, no timeouts, down 4, Cooper Kupp's getting the rock in some way, shape, or form, whether they got to throw a wide receiver screen to him, whether they got to throw a back shoulder fade to him, whether he's going to run a whip route where he's going to act like he's running a slant and then turn and pivot. They call it a pivot route too, and get back to the outside. They're going to find a way to isolate Cooper Kupp one-on-one and get him the football. We didn't do that with Terry. We didn't do that with Cole Turner. We didn't do that with Cam Sims. We didn't do it with anybody individually. We kept trying to force the ball to J.D. McKissic for some reason. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John, I am so sorry. I apologize for putting you in timeout, man. You did nothing wrong. I am so sorry. I truly, truly do apologize for the misunderstanding. I don't know what's going on with my thumbs lately. I've been hitting things too fast, and boom, just like that, somebody who has done absolutely nothing wrong and doesn't warrant timeout is being placed in timeout. Anyway, John writes, Lou, while in timeout, I was just thinking, who's going to step up for AB? The man is struggling with the hotel video and now his Twitter post. I've said this a long, long time ago. He's going down that Kanye West road, right? It's dark. It's a really, really bad place to be. And unfortunately, when you have a lot of money and you have a lot of yes men in your corner, you don't get the help you need. And when you get to a point where Kanye West is and Antonio Brown is, where even when people are trying to help you, you don't want their help. it's tough because, again, in order to help yourself, in order for someone else to help you, you've got to want to help yourself. The first step on the road to recovery is admitting that there's a problem. But AB hasn't really ever been willing nor able to admit that there's a problem. We've always talked. I really truly think that Antonio Brown has like some kind of personality disorder. I really think like he's either manic or he's like schizo, or he's got multiple personality disorder. Like he's got something mentally that's off from a chemical standpoint. He's got a chemical imbalance. Same thing that I said about Kanye West. There's a chemical imbalance there. He needs medication. But, there's some kind of trauma, and I don't know what that trauma was for AB. We know what the trauma was for Kanye. So when his mom passed away. And he never recovered from that trauma. And so I don't know what the trauma was for AB, what happened to him in his life, what put him in that state. Could have been something from his childhood, whatever. I'm no psychiatrist. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. But clearly there's something going on with this dude mentally. And we saw this a long time ago. This didn't just happen overnight. I've been talking about AB's mental state since he was in Pittsburgh. The tail end of his Pittsburgh career into the Raiders situation. And then, the whole blow up, went to New England. Tom Brady let him stay with him. Tom vouched for him in Tampa. And now he's clowning Tom on socials, on some shit that's not funny, on some personal shit. He needs help. He's crying out for help, but he didn't want help either. So it's tough. Greatness. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Greatness writes, after the loss, Ron said, maybe for us, it's time to panic. But for him, it's not. I feel like RR is a made man. Surrounded himself with ex-Panther staff. No one can fire him except Snyder, maybe. Exactly. That's why I said when Ron's actions are that of a man who feels like I've got time. I laid that out for you in the post-game show on Sunday night after the game. Ron's actions are that of a man that is safe and secure in his job security. He's got nothing to worry about. Because I can tell you firsthand from watching this game, as long as I have, from seeing people in personal spaces, even myself being put in a couple of positions where you felt like your job was on the line. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And in the NFL, if you're a coach that fears for your job, you're not looking to develop young players. What is that going to do for you? You won't be around to see the fruits of your labor with a young guy. You're not going out and signing Rashad Wildgoose and Castro Fields if you think you could get fired this year. No, you're going out and you're getting a veteran. You're not going out and getting John Ridgeway off the Cowboys practice squad and Toa Ia off of the Steelers or whatever the other guy's name was off the Steelers practice squad. You know what you're going to do? You're going to go out and you're going to sign Ndamukong Suh. Or you're going to go out and get a veteran defensive tackle that can come in and help you right now. You're not going to go out here and keep recycling and retreading these linebackers that can't help you. You go out and you get Quan Alexander. But they didn't do any of those things. You know why? Because Ron isn't worried about his job. He knows he's got 2-3 more years to try to continue to turn this thing around. His actions speak way louder than any words he can say. And I think he's right. I don't think he's going anywhere. With all the shit that the Snyders have going on in their personal lives, hell, they're fighting just to continue to be the owners of the Commanders. They've got so many different, they've got so many different investigations going on them right now. I think it's up to 8 investigations. The last thing they need is to be searching for a new coach / GM or whatever for their organization. That's the last thing that they need. So I don't. Ron, it definitely feels. I won't call him a made man because that would mean he's Bill Belichick or one of these coaches that, look, you can't fire this guy. This guy's he's going to retire when he's done. He's not going to be fired. He's not in that position. But what Ron is saying is, I'm comfortable in my job security. I'm good. I'm not going to be fired. I'm not in danger of being Matt Rule. And I believe him. I totally believe him. And the only person that can fire him is Snyder. He's the GM. I mean, technically speaking, he's not the GM, but he hired the GM. Like, he hired everybody that's in the building. He hired them from a staff standpoint. So, yeah, no one can fire him but Snyder. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings 01 writes, spiritually taxing is how I would describe it. Look, yeah, I think that's accurate. You know, it's a mental anguish that is hard to describe unless you've been there as a fan. But mind, not necessarily body. For some, it is body, because some people are punching walls and doing stupid shit with their bodies. Not me. But mind, soul are definitely, mind minus the body, but definitely the soul is invested, and it's rough. It's definitely rough. That's for sure. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JL Smooth, writes, you see, the Bills are interested in CMC since Carolina is willing to eat half the salary. I'm into it at the right price. If he can stay healthy, I think that's overkill for the Bills, though. But because you don't have a dominant running back, obviously they're into that. I thought James Cook showed something for the first time finally against the Steelers. Who didn't show something against the Steelers on Sunday? But Cook's, finally showing you a little something. We know that Motor Singletary is a really good player. Zach Moss I don't think he's ever quite gotten back to rookie form yet, but Zach Moss is a solid, running back. Christian McCaffrey obviously is better than all of those dudes, and McDermott has, ties to him in history, and he knows what McCaffrey is all about. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't really truly know. How did I think about it? I think he did, but I'm not sure that McDermott actually crossed paths with McCaffrey. Maybe for 1 year they overlapped. When did he become the head coach of the Buffalo Bills? McDermott feels like he's been there for a while now. Like maybe like 2017, right? Didn't he get there the same year as Josh Allen? Allen was the 18 draft. Because I feel like McDermott was the head coach when you broke the streak. I mean, you can help me out with that. I feel like McDermott had to be in Buffalo since like 2016 or 17. Because if I'm not mistaken, he was the head coach when Tyrod Taylor took y'all to the playoffs and you lost to Jacksonville. That was in 2017. Well, maybe it wasn't him. I feel like it was, though. I'm tripping. I don't know. I can't remember. Because McCaffrey's first year in the league was 17. So if that's the case, then he wouldn't have crossed paths with him. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. I think it's overkill, but if you're really trying to make a push at the Super Bowl, McCaffrey could be the missing piece. Let's see. Red Wings 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Red Wings writes, Menace of the week goes to Darnay Holmes. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. I haven't actually seen what he did. I heard about what he did, but I didn't see it. So I gotta go and do some investigating. But I heard it was pretty savage. So I gotta check it out. I heard a lot about it though. So I want to see it for myself before I talk about it. Frankie, yo, stand up. You are officially the newest member of the MOBB. Frankie, yo. Welcome to the squad. Mob, you know what to do. Show Frankie, yo, some love. Welcome him with open arms. Look forward to chopping it up with you. Look forward to seeing you. Hopefully you aren't a lurker, but if you are, that's okay. I've experienced that. That's what I am. So I'm never mad at a lurker, but I hope to hear from you. Look forward to chopping it up with you in the future. And again, welcome to the squad. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, 105.3 JL Smooth writes, I'm sure you talked about it, but I saw a clip of Ron saying the difference in the conference is the quarterback. Carson seems a bit sensitive. You think that hurts y'all? I don't think he meant it as a derogatory statement towards Carson. I think he was trying to say that the other teams have built their rosters around the quarterback position, and ours hasn't been built around the quarterback position because we didn't have a quarterback to build it around. But again, I think that's still a farce of a statement because the Giants have Daniel Jones and the Cowboys have gone 4-1 with Cooper Rush. Now, you could say that, they've insulated the quarterback position, but it's still Cooper Rush, dude. And that's not the reason why the Cowboys are 4-1. The reason the Cowboys are 4-1 is because of their defense. The difference is Dan Quinn. All right, this is the same defense. Obviously, Michael Parsons makes a massive difference. This is the same defense, essentially, and the same Cowboys team that 2 years ago didn't have Dak Prescott, and they couldn't bust a grape. They couldn't stop anybody defensively. They were terrible, and they had Mike Nolan as the defensive coordinator. The biggest difference is they got Dan Quinn now. They got a competent, they got a damn good defensive coordinator that maximizes the talent of the guys on the football field. The Cowboys have a tremendous roster. So do the Eagles. Like I've always said, that the Cowboys do a really good job of drafting. Really good job. So they've got talent. They've got depth. That said, they still have to win games with Cooper Rush. That's coaching. Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback of the New York Giants. 2 head coaches have been fired trying to get the most out of Daniel Jones. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option for a reason. They didn't pick up Saquon's 5th-year option for a reason. Both of those guys are playing good football. But don't tell me that Daniel Jones is the reason that they're 4-1 because that's not true. It's the coaching. I don't think Carson is effective. Look, if you're sensitive, you could take that the wrong way. You could take that the wrong way. And if you just heard that clip, that one clip, and you didn't hear the entire exchange, it sounds like he's throwing Carson under the bus. I didn't take it that way, but it could be misconstrued that way, and it was so unnecessary. So unnecessary. All right. So that concludes the show. I want to thank everyone for joining me on a Monday Night Football overtime. If you're still out there, before you go, please do me a huge solid and hit the subscribe button for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also hit the like button, as it helps this channel grow exponentially. There's 150 of you out there, only 66 likes, which is really, really paltry. I need more. I need more. All right. I need more likes. Yodelay. Why? Because I do. Hit the like button. Help the kid out. So I appreciate y'all. Look forward to chopping it up with y'all tomorrow. If you're a member of the MOBB, a gold member, we'll be taking a look at the film more likely than not tomorrow. A podcast will be coming on Wednesday. We'll be live on Wednesday as we get ready for the Bears. Not really looking forward to that, but we'll see. But in any event, I am looking forward to Chiefs Bills in week number 6. Both teams will be 4-1 heading into that epic matchup. After the Chiefs get it done tonight, 30-29. What a great game this was. I mean, Monday night has been really good this season. Last week, not so much, even though the score is misleading. That was a one-score game for much of the night, Rams and 49ers. But this was compelling stuff from the Chiefs and the Raiders. And I don't think the Raiders are done. Despite the loss, they had opportunities to win tonight. They didn't get it done. I don't think they're done, but we'll see. Anyway, I digress. You guys, get out of here. Got another super chat. We'll take this one on the way out. My guy, John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JL Smooth writes, was that from Doug, Lou? Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys have a great night. As always, God bless and good night.